I want to go over something that I might have brought up in a previous video around lawyers. So this is kind of in general, I think anybody would benefit from knowing what's the difference between a public defender and a private attorney. So, and this has nothing to do with, oh, you think you got into trouble and you're that's the reason why you need it. No, in general, for a whole bunch of things that could happen in your life, you may end up in a situation where you have to know, should you have a public defender or should you have your own private attorney? So a public defender is a person who you would get assigned to you if they do an intake and assessment and they found out that based on your finances that you fit the range in which they say that a public defender could be given to you. So in most places it's probably whatever is in that area's federal poverty line. So if you're below that, you generally will qualify. So if you don't have a job right now, you would definitely qualify. I know that's one of the biggest fear for anybody who is arrested and being arraigned, that they're scared that they're not going to be assigned a lawyer to go in front of a judge. That rarely ever happens. So if you did not have a lawyer because they weren't sure if you made enough money or how little money you had to get a public defender, when it's your turn to appear in front of a judge, the judge can actually pick amongst a galley of other public defenders who were hearing cases and said, can you please temporarily step in and help this person, as we move through it. And so that person may not be your permanent assigned public defender, but whatever they help you with can still count towards whatever good stuff that you may want with your case. Now, at some point, you may eventually meet your finally assigned public defender, whether that's after the session, after you've left, and they call you afterwards. But you will get assigned a public defender to help work on your case. Now, I don't know how many people out in the world who can say, I have a criminal defense attorney on hand who can represent me at any time. Unless you've previously dealt with the system, or you have a personal friend or a family member who does criminal defense, I find that most people will say, I don't even know where to start. So if you are trying to figure out where to find a private attorney, so a lot of the best places to start is probably the legal societies that are in your, or legal aid societies that are in your community. They can probably point you to a private attorney depending on your price range or the type of offenses that you're facing in your case. And then the other thing is also to look at, there are other kind of community resources that you may not know about to go to, but say, for example, your charges are drunk driving. One thing you can do is to go to your local AA community and ask, I'm currently, court involved. I need a lawyer to represent me for a drunk driving case. Somebody in that group probably knows a lawyer who can help represent you. So that's one way to get a person who may have the specialty that you're looking for. And then there are other private attorneys that you can get through kind of nonprofit organizations that represent poor people or people who are discriminated against, and you can go to those agencies. So even if they may not have specifically criminal defense lawyers, they can probably refer you to somebody that they work with or that they know that are good. I think the most important thing to remember is that you want a lawyer who understands who you are as a client, not so much the charges are going to be dealt with the way they are. Like, the way you're not going to really argue that drunk driving is not drunk driving, but you want to have a lawyer who actually can speak to your specific background. So, for example, I think this is one of the most important things. If you know English is not your first language and you prefer to have a bilingual lawyer who can better articulate, translate documents for you, do all that stuff, then that's part of what you're going to need. So if you're assigned a public defender who can't do that, then that is one reason why you would hire a private attorney. The other reason why you would want to hire a private attorney is that the public defenders have hundreds, if not thousands, of cases that they're dealing with their office, whether it's the local office, the regional office, state office, federal office. They have a lot of cases that are assigned to them, and so the individual caseload per lawyer is huge. Now, it doesn't mean that every day a lawyer is handling 100 cases each day. They have to prioritize, and so your case, depending on how new it is or how urgently it needs to go through the system, is really how you're going to be dealt with by the public defender. So if you just got arrested, you are to be expected to wait about a year or so before your case finally gets to the point where, do we go to trial or not? Do we want to plead it out or not? I know that's very scary for people to know that, there's that long period. Now, with the private attorney, there is no difference in that time in the waiting. Your case is not going to progress faster, to trial, or you won't get a deal offered faster with the private attorney, but there are maybe other things that you want that lawyer to do on the way to getting that point. So from my own personal experience, what I thought was important was that a lawyer who can get me into mental health services, making sure that I can live independently, even though I have this charge, so it's hard to have a public defender who's dealing with many other clients do all those things versus your own privately retained attorney. So it's that's what you're paying for ultimately, is that kind of personal service with the lawyer. And that's also why having a private attorney is very expensive. Never accept any type of contract with a lawyer where they're saying, you're going to pay less than $10,000 because I guarantee you that you're going to get off on this for that. But that's not the work that would probably be very reasonable. And unless you absolutely knew the nature of your case in which you could then be confident, I guess the reason is, why wouldn't you then rely on a public defender versus having a private attorney? So the main barrier for people, of course, to get a private attorney is money. You have to most cases, you have to come up with the money up front of what they think, how much it will cost if we went to trial. And about 99% of the times, they don't want to go to trial. Nobody wants to go to trial. So that the money that they're paying is that if you as a client say, I don't care how bad it looks, I want to go to trial, that's the money they're taking up front. There are other methods to kind of like parse out the charges, but even when you're looking at that, it's going to end up getting to whatever number they would have given you in the very beginning. And in terms of outcomes, right? What happens to your case between a public defender versus a private attorney? I will tell you, and this is also stuff that I learned from probation officers who deal with kind of what happens after a case. Everybody has told me that the outcomes aren't really different. That in general, particularly if you're in the federal system, where they have a very high conviction rate for trials, that you really may not get any much better in terms of an outcome between a public defender and a private attorney. Now, if you want to hear about my own personal experience, in my case, what I thought the difference is the amount of time it took. I don't know whether I would call it a bad thing or a good thing, but my case really slowed down and took a long time before it got in front of a judge. I mean, normally in that instance, the idea is that then I could live a very normal life, but there's no incentives for these, well-paid lawyers on both sides to do anything until it's absolutely necessary, and then they stick to the judge's schedule. So I think the myth that either the public defender or your private attorney can secure a plea deal or plea arrangement for you faster than the other, that's not really what's going to happen. I mean, it's so individualized in terms of reasons and of when people get deals, why they get deals, that you can't say that a private attorney can get that deal quicker. The deals, of course, tend to be similar, whether it's done by a private attorney or a public defender. There's really no controlling that part, but that they do get similar deals. I think if you are a person who's been sitting awaiting trial, say in jail for over a year, getting that deal faster is probably better because you can start moving on with your life, right? So I would say for folks who are questioning whether or not having a private attorney is better, unfortunately, I have to say at this point, no. If you're looking at a federal case or a case in which there's mountains of evidence, that you really are at that point not going to be looking for a trial. You're going to be looking for a plea deal, and you would really need to talk honestly with your lawyer from the get-go on what they have done in the past with similar cases to yours. And I will tell you from my own personal experience, my lawyer did a very good job of trying to show her homework, essentially. She showed my case's outcome compared to all these other people for the past 25 years. To say deals are for the most part similar. You get similar deals. There aren't going to be too many people who are going to get a deal that's like exceptionally great for the client. Those, I'm sure those are the kind of wild stories that you hear about. But generally, the thing about people who go straight to trial, they do get heavier sentences because they decide to go to trial. And the majority of cases do not go to trial. So that's in all systems, regardless of federal or state or local. So if you have any questions about this particular topic, let me know, because I know if you're a person in this circumstance thinking about hiring a private attorney, it could be a big deal. So leave me any comments about your question. Hopefully I can try to answer it. But also, if you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe. I'm going to do more videos like this about how to prepare for your life being court involved. And this is not about going to jail or going to prison as a sentence. So everybody has to go through this process of being court involved. So what does that mean? And I'm hoping that it will make you feel slightly better, that you know something rather than fearing the unknown. So click subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because I will be pumping out a lot more content in the future. And like this video, and definitely ask me questions. I think that's what's going to help this channel, and to help you guys who are looking for information like this, is to hear other people's experience or their comments. All right, so I will talk to you guys soon.